Hello, friends, and welcome to Pathologic, Volume 1, Episode 27. Today we are going to be playing a rectangle slider, which is a movement puzzle. Those are always especially fun to solve in the digital interface, so I'm looking forward to that. But before we can play, we need to learn how, so let's take a look at the rules. Rectangle slider is a movement puzzle. The rules are: move some black squares, one by ones and not necessarily all of them, so that each group of orthogonally adjacent squares is rectangular in shape and no square is left isolated as a one by one. So let's break that down a little bit. First, we need to define orthogonally. Once again, orthogonally adjacent means sharing an edge in this context. So these two squares here or these two squares here are orthogonally adjacent. Diagonally is not orthogonally adjacent. And this calls out one by ones and not necessarily all of them are moving. So let's look at the before and after. This one by one square here moved left one square to get to the final space that it ends up in the answer. This one by one square right here did not move at all, stayed where it was. So either of those is acceptable. The fact that squares form larger regions in the start doesn't necessarily mean they will end together in this solution. A square may only move in one straight line, vertically or horizontally. That should be straightforward. You can see that in the paths that these took. Squares' paths may not cross each other, other squares, or other squares' starting points. So basically in this final diagram, we aren't going to be drawing two things in the same box. Squares containing clues must be moved exactly the indicated number of cells. Clues here are numbers, and so this is saying that this one by one right here, this 4, needs to move exactly 4 spaces, and you can see it moved 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces in the answer. Those are the rules of rectangle slider. So it's time to solve a puzzle. Today's rectangle slider was set by Shye. Okay, the interface that we're given does a couple things to help us. One is that it will gray out numbers as soon as we have moved the indicated amount. So this is just a little reinforcement here. The 0 clues are already gray because 0 means they're not going to move at all. These other white are not grayed out, but you can see if we move this 3 spaces, now it is grayed out. If we move it too far, it's white again because it needs to move exactly 3. And the cells that don't have a number in it obviously can be moved any amount. That's one thing. The other thing we can do is we can click in cells to mark circles and X's. That's typically used to mean there must be a box here for the circle or there can't be a box here for the X. So we'll keep that in mind. So in this puzzle, we need to end up with just rectangles. And actually, we start in that situation already. But since some of these squares need to move, we're gonna break it and we're gonna fix it again. So let's start with the big one, this 4. Because I see that that's large enough. As usual, looking for small and large numbers helps. The zeros are done. And this 4 can't go left because there isn't enough room. It could go 1, 2, 3. That's as far as it could go. So it's going to go north 4. And that is forced. So you can already see that this cell right here is going to have to move because... well, actually, it wouldn't necessarily have to move. It either has to end up here and be a 1 and not be connected to this 0 anymore, or it needs to move away so that it is no longer wrecking this shape. So something's going to happen there. But let's scan around to see if there's anything more that is forced, and there is. This 2 can't move east anymore because it would run into that line. So we need to take it north, like so. Okay, so now we have a 1 and a 3 that need to move, and nothing can end up isolated as a 1 by 1. So this box here, we talked a little about this one, but it's confusing because there's other stuff right around it that could happen. This one though, where could it meet up with anything else? Well, it is not going to stay connected to the square right below it. That can't happen, because if it were, since this one doesn't move, we would end up with a shape that has a hole in it of some kind. So this needs to move out of the way, at least this far. And I'm going to say exactly that far, because if it moves any further, then either it's on its own or it's in a weird shape. So it moves this far. So now we've got this rectangle is legal. And in fact, you can see that it is, in fact, not going to grow any further, because this doesn't have any boxes that could move into the way, and we don't have any in the top row that could slide in here. So this rectangle here is complete. So what's going to happen to this 4? It needs at least one friend, and it's not going to come from the left for the reason we just said, and it's not going to come up from the row above. So it's going to have to happen here, and what can move there? Only this cell. Okay, so now what can we do next? This 1 could join that region, and I think probably does, but it still could also do that if we could give it a partner. Can we give it a partner? The partner couldn't be up here because there's nothing that is movable left in that row, and nor above it. The partner can't come here because where would it come from? It would have to come from below, and this is going to move too far. And could it be here? Is there anything in that row or column? The only thing is this, which does not move. So this isn't going to be a legal placement. So in fact, this will move north. Okay, great. This cell, can we prove that it doesn't move? I believe it doesn't move. So this cell here needs a partner. It's not going to come from here for the reasons we just said. There's no cells that it can see that can move. Could it come from below? Again, this 3 would move too far. So it's going to stay put. Well, we know it's going to stay put, but its partner isn't going to be from the right or below, so it has to be to the left here. And this rectangle isn't going to grow any further, because if it grew down, we again would need something in this cell, and we're not going to be able to do that. So this is complete. So what's going to happen to this 3 now? If it goes left, we're going to end up with a bad shape there that isn't a rectangle. So it's going to have to go north, and it needs at least one partner, which is going to come from here because, again, no other legal choices. And we are left now with everything satisfied except this weird shape. How can we fix that? Well, we can't move this one, and we can't move this away because it needs, that's the only potential partner for this 0. So these 2 are fixed. So this is going to have to move out of the way to make it no longer an L shape and make it a rectangle. And so it moves over here to join these. And now everything is a rectangle, and we have satisfied the conditions. We can check it. And that is how you solve a rectangle slider. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and check out the description below for more free puzzles.